let's talk about Rings of Power. Rings of Power episode 7 is here. The Harfoots are back. The land is scorched. The queen is blind. Galadriel is covered in Cheeto dust. Am I wrong? Did it look like it literally the beginning of the episode? And by the way, I fell asleep watching it. I started watching it last night, fell asleep, woke up this morning, picked up where I left off, and lots of stuff happened that I didn't care. And by lots of stuff happened, I mean not a lot happened. I'm checked out on this show. Alan, what did you think of Rings of Power episode 7?
Yes, I'm checked out on the show too. It starts off with the devastation of the volcano, and it's basically people. The entire episode is people sitting down. 4 people said, "This is my fault," and then 4 other characters said, "No, it's not your fault." And that was essentially the episode. I wish I could be more excited about the plot of this episode. I mean, the Harfoots and maybe Gandalf or whoever that guy is. It's just there's just no excitement. For some reason, these writers just need to have people sit down, talk, say their feelings eloquently, and then have someone respond to it. It's hard for me to talk about it because I'm not into the lore like Neurotic is, and unfortunately, this just makes me not want to care anymore. The mithril thing, I mean, I guess that's kind of exciting, but honestly, I think Disa and I for the life of me, I can't even remember the name of Elrond's friend there, the main dwarf. But they sound more like the villains than I think they're supposed to be. I think they're supposed to be the good guys, and that he's gonna ultimately become king. But they sound kind of like villains by the end of the show, and I'm not sure. Maybe they are villains, or maybe it's just bad writing. And I think that's the theme of this episode. It's just people talking bad, and bad writing and bad storytelling. So yeah, that's my take. I hate this show. I hate this show so much.
Yeah, I hate it. Where just like, I don't know what storyline left off. Some of the storylines don't seem to connect at all, like the stuff with the Elrond and the dwarves, which I guess that's and the Harfoots. Like, these things aren't connecting. So what's the point? I mean, the thing about Game of Thrones that you could say, for all the things you could critique about it, everything connected in some way. It was all about the game of who's going to sit on the Iron Throne, right? Like that, everything connected to that ultimately in the end. Even the side characters played a role in that in some way. And the side quests don't make sense, mainly the Harfoots and dwarves. All of the other conflicts I don't seem to be invested. And then there's a style, and it really struck me. I'm like, why do I fall asleep every time? I came home from the movie last night. I saw Tar with Cate Blanchett. Came home. Nerdrotic is on, so I'm watching Gary talking about it, and he gets so into it. And knows all the lore that I'm like, oh my God, like I don't want to be that into it. It's like EFAP. He's like EFAPing the episode, Every Frame a Pause, which is another show that I would recommend, that a guy named Mahler. I'm sure you've heard of Mahler. He's very good and does that show. He's done a lot of great videos. Then I started watching the show. So I get a little preview from Gary. Then I start watching the show. I fall asleep every time. I think the timing of it is, and also the other thing is I began to notice, I noticed this today, and I'm surprised. Like, I mean, I may have commented on this before, but it really stood out with this episode. Everything happens very slowly, Alan. Do you think that things are going to progress slowly as the show continues towards its inevitable end? Well, I'm not sure, but it's almost as if they took the opposite direction. George Lucas has a very famous was very famously quoted when he was making the original Star Wars. He had one direction for all of the cast,
Mm-hmm.
and he repeated it ad nauseum: faster, more intense.
Mm-hmm.
They might have benefited from that direction. This is literally slow, chew the scenery. And I'm literally in my head, because I'll watch it with the closed captioning on, because I want to be able to pick up, the names and everything. I like closed captioning for certain shows.
Mm-hmm. This is definitely one.
This is definitely one that benefits from closed captioning. But what struck me as I'm watching it, because I'm seeing the text, is how much you could have edited the dialogue. Like if you were going through the script, this line's unnecessary. This is repetitive. This doesn't matter. Already been stated, implied. This is in the subtext. Like it was crazy. Like I really think that I could cut every episode of Rings of Power in half and lose nothing. You would go, wow, the show moves a lot quicker. But I feel they're so proud of themselves. They're so proud of themselves.
Yeah.
I'm
sure they watch it and they think they did a great job. They got the look down. I'm sure they love their dialogue. They love hearing their dialogue. And the worst part is each episode is an hour and 15 minutes. House of the Dragon isn't even an hour long.
Yeah, no, House of the Dragon's like 50 minutes usually,
mm-hmm.
like an hour. I mean, I think there was one episode that was like an hour 10, but it feels like the episodes for House of the Dragon are the length that they should be.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and they're packed. They are absolutely packed.
Yeah, so much happens in one episode. More happens in one episode of House of the Dragon than has happened all season of Rings of Power. So, I can't. I'm over it.